Well, we are going to continue today talking out of the book of the Song of Songs, or sometimes it's called the Song of Solomon. We're going to refer to it today as the Song of Songs. And the reason I want to refer to it that way is because it's a phrase that's referred to as a Hebrew idiom, like the greatest of greatest, like the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the best of the best, right? God is the King of Kings. Well, this book is called the Song of Songs, so it's the best of the best. There's many songs written in the Bible, but God calls this the best one. And so we want to talk about why. So we're just going to remind you a couple things about the history of the Song of Songs. It's 8 chapters long. It goes from, it's between a man and a woman, and it all takes place in a garden, very similar to the Garden of Eden, which we feel like has huge connections. It takes place from engagement to wedding to marriage. And throughout this journey, this couple continues to seek, find, and restore their relationship. Seek, find, and restore their relationship over and over and over again. The garden imagery of Eden and the married couple who are naked and vulnerable but completely unified and safe. That's how this book is described. There are several different scriptures on submission, respect. That's what I was going to point out. There's, in the Bible, there's lots of scriptures that we can pull out for marriage, on submission, respect, being kind to one another. But there's not one book dedicated to a man and a woman on marriage, but the Song of Songs, and it's all about passion. The whole book is all about passion in your relationship. So to me, that says that God is saying, this is very important. I've dedicated a whole book to this, not just a few scriptures, a whole book to this. One quote that I took from a book called The Song of Songs, an Introduction and Commentary says, a garden in the ancient world was a place of privilege, leisure, and intimacy. Kings and rich people created walled or hedged areas planted with beautiful plants that were carefully irrigated to provide a lush retreat from stresses and pressures of everyday life. Such gardens were not open to all, but would be locked so that they could be preserved for the private use of the owner alone. I just want to repeat that. The gardens were a lush retreat from the stresses and pressure of everyday life. Do you have a garden in your marriage? A place where you can retreat with your spouse from the stresses and pressures of life?
I mean, if God put all of that in one book, we should probably study that book. We should probably read it. Maybe read it in different translations. That's something that Ashlee and I have done over this last year is I think we've read through Song of Solomon in about 8 or 10 different translations, just getting different perspectives. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, okay. She's reading commentaries. She's looking at that, diving into it. And the outcome of that is our marriage has gotten stronger. We just celebrated 28 years, and I feel like we're closer than ever before, right? Now, listen, and it's on every area. It's not just about the years. It's about the dedication that we've had. You ask anybody who's been married any length of time, if you want to have a great marriage, you have to work at it, right? Think about it. In your job, you probably read books, go to seminars, probably do research. You're probably constantly learning, constantly growing to get stronger and get better at your job, right? It's what pays the bills. But think about the most prized relationship that we have. How much are we putting into this relationship? Are we constantly growing? Are we constantly learning? This last year, Ashlee and I did a talk on building a garden in your marriage. And literally, we've said it before, we don't know if it was for anybody else, but it was for us. We've applied what we got up here and talked about. We apply it in our marriage every single day. We talk about that safe and vulnerable place where God allows us to build this intimate place of passion in how we communicate and how we talk to each other. And it's God's desire to bring us back to that garden place where he was, where God says that he walks with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day, right? He was there. They were naked and they were unashamed. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally. They were connected to each other constantly. That happens and can happen today, but it takes some work. He also gave us language to be able, there's so many times where Ashley and I, even today, will say, hey, can I bring something into the garden? Which means I need to share something with you, but I need to make sure that we're in our safe place, that we're there to build each other up and to help each other. And the byproduct of it is we've gotten healed. We've gotten healed from things that we thought we were healed from, but then when we got into that safe place where we could be vulnerable with each other, we realized, I don't think I'm completely healed. But when I brought it into the garden, she healed me.
And the reason we refer to the garden so much is, where did a woman and man exist where there was no sin? Well, before they sinned. It was in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is God's plan for our lives. He's longing to get us back to the Garden of Eden. In Revelations, it says that we will get to a new heaven and a new earth, and it's our new Eden. He's longing to get us back there. And I think he's longing to get you to a place where you have a garden in your marriage. It's not going to be perfect, and it wasn't perfect in the Song of Songs because they continued to have to seek, find, and restore their marriage over and over and over again, but they never gave up. They kept putting in the work. We had a couple came up to us a couple months ago, I think, and said, you know what, I don't even have a garden. Like, you keep talking about this garden, I don't have a garden. Like, what are we supposed to do? And I said, well, if you were putting in a literal garden in your backyard and it was just a blank slate, what would you do? Oh, well, man, I would probably need to read about it because I don't even know how to do that. I'd probably have to buy some tools. Yep. I'd probably need to buy some supplies. And come up with a plan. Yep. I'd need to do a lot of research. Yep. You want to build a garden in your marriage? It's not going to take just create a garden in our marriage. You got some work to do, right? With prayers, declarations, and all that. But there's some work to put in it to get that garden in your marriage, and you can absolutely do it.
We're going to talk to you guys today about 3 things that the lover of your soul needs from you. 3 things that the lover of your soul needs from you.
Yes, we're calling this a love letter from the garden. A love letter from the garden. So the first thing that the lover of your soul, the person sitting next to you, needs from you is protection. Protection. You need to be their refuge. There's a scripture in Song of Songs 114 this is from the woman. The woman says, "The one I love is a cluster of henna blossoms to me in the vineyards of Engedi." So I read that and I was like, what's a henna blossom? What does that mean? And so I found this when I was doing some research. Henna is grown as a hedgerow around vineyards to hold soil against wind erosion in Israel, as it was in other countries. A henna hedge with dense, thorny branches protected a vulnerable, valuable crop, such as a vineyard, from hungry animals. The hedge, which protected and defended the vineyard, also had clusters of fragrant flowers. This would imply a metaphor for henna of a beloved who defends, shelters, and delights his lover. All other men compared with him were like the desert. Among them, he stood out like a beautiful cluster of flowers in a desert oasis. Henna blossoms were white, and Engedi, where she mentioned, was an oasis. It actually still exists today. Engedi is this oasis, this vineyard, in the middle of a desert. It's where David went to hide from Saul, and he was refreshed. God refreshed him there because it was a garden that brought him refreshment. So what she's saying to the lover of her soul is, you're my protection. You're my henna bush. You protect me. You guard me. You shelter me. Thank you for being my henna bush.
Don't start that.
I know.
And this is what happens. You start reading through the Song of Songs, and you start seeing, I need to be a better henna bush for my garden. A henna bush is a protector. I need to be a better protector. Ultimately, God is our protector, but there's a role that I play. If I'm not protecting her, my most prized possession, right? I need to protect her and guard her around her so that she can then understand what she adds value to me, and that's how I add value to her. It's incredible. So you have to protect your spouse. You have to protect men. You need to protect your wives. You need to be that henna bush around your most prized possession, around that vineyard that it talks about. Be their covering. Be their covering. There's shade in the heat of the day. There's shade in the heat of the day. In Song of Songs 2, 3 through 4, this is the woman speaking. It says, as an apricot tree stands out in the forest, my lover stands above all young men in the town. All I want is to sit in his shade, to taste and savor his delicious love. He took me home with him for a festive meal, but his eyes feasted on me. Lord have mercy. Now, there's a couple of things, right? You want to have some passion in your marriage? Go home and read Song of Songs to each other, right? Find the translation that works for you. But it says that I am her apricot tree. If you look at a fruit tree, first and foremost, that fruit tree better have some really good roots. Where do my roots have to go down into? I've got to be rooted in God. I've got to daily get my sustenance from God so that I can provide shade for my vineyard, right? Because it goes on, it talks about how she is actually my orchard, right? So if I'm going to be that apricot tree, my roots have to go deep. Have you ever seen a tree up close to its trunk and the roots are on top of the ground, right? That's not a very healthy tree. The roots should go deep underneath to get its sustenance from deep underneath, so that whenever there's lack of rain, there isn't enough food for that tree, it's going deep for its food. Why is that important? She says here, it's like, so I can sit underneath. Well, if there's roots on top, if my roots don't go down deep, there's no grass underneath my tree because I'm taking everything from it. But I want her to be able to sit underneath. I know this is kind of metaphorical, but it really is true. I'm going to be her shade so she can rest. I'm going to be her security so that her shoulders drop and she can relax and she can just focus on what she needs to focus on, that I can be there for her.
To me, when I read this, it brought security. And women, our number one need, most women, is security. You know, his shade tells me everything's okay. It's funny, we walk a lot behind our house. We have retaining ponds behind our house with sidewalks. And so we walk them. One's almost a mile, the other one's a half mile. And so we walk those a lot. And we chose to walk one morning this week, which was the worst idea, because I don't know if anybody's been outside in Houston this week, but it
was about 300 degrees.
Quite humid. It was about 300 degrees. And we are walking, and we're talking about our lesson, and we're talking about the apple tree, and all of a sudden I was like, babe, I don't think I'm going to make it. I think I'm about to pass out. We are crazy. What are we doing out here walking in this heat? I'm like, Lord, help me. Like, I literally thought I was about to pass out. I was like, I am not going to make it home. I need water. I need something. And all of a sudden, God sent these huge clouds that covered the sun. And I was like, babe, what do you feel right now? And he was like, I feel so much relief. He was like, I can feel the wind. Like, I can move my legs. I can keep going. I can keep walking. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I think I might be able to run. And Clayton was like, don't get crazy.
We were refreshed. And that's, men, that's our role to shade so that it can be a time of refreshing, right? We might be able to stand it, but I want to make sure I'm doing whatever I need to do to make sure that she is refreshed so that she can feel, and where in just literally 2 seconds prior, we were both like, I don't know if we're going to make it back home, you know. And what's interesting is that we were feeling the wind prior to the shade, but it felt different when there was shade. It was cooling, it was refreshing, and it helped us keep going.
It gave us a confidence. Yeah. Being a shade tree for your spouse can bring them confidence.
Song of Songs 4:12 through 14 says, this is the man speaking. It says, dear lover and friend, You are a secret garden, a private and pure fountain. Body and soul, you are paradise. Lord. A whole orchard of succulent fruits, ripe apricots and peaches, oranges and pears, nut trees and cinnamon, and all scented woods, mint and lavender, and all herbs aromatic. Good night. Just kidding. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. She has all of that, and I only have eyes for her because I can pick out all the fruit. I can see it. She adds such value to me and to our family. She truly is my orchard. But she needs my protection. And I have to cover her.
I would just like to point out that the man is just a shade tree and the woman is a whole orchard. I told that to Clayton last night. I was like, I love that.
Valid.
Here's another quote from that book, The Song of Songs, an introduction and commentary. I love this. In the song, the woman is not a land to be conquered by the man or a field to be planted with his seed. She is a vineyard to be cultivated by him so that together they can enjoy the sweet wine of their relationship. I love that.
Y'all gonna all go home tonight and read through Song of Songs.
Song of Songs, I'm telling you.
The next thing, be on your guard. Be on your guard. They cover each other. They defend each other. The woman says, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that ruin the vineyard, for our vineyards are in blossom. Now, if you've ever grown any type of plant or any kind of fruit or anything like that, typically a plant will give a flower before the fruit. And what she's encouraging her man to do is to be on guard to keep the foxes, the little nuisances, away from the garden so that they can produce fruit. So in that time, the flowers were producing, the flowers were on the garden, but some foxes kind of had a tendency to get in there. So if I'm not being a true henna bush for my spouse, for our marriage, I can allow little foxes. Well, what are little foxes? Arguments, fear, concern, pride. You know, all the little foxes, they come in different shapes and sizes. But if we're not on guard and keeping the foxes away, they're going to come in and they're going to eat the flowers, and we're not going to produce fruit in our marriage.
When we meet with couples who are having issues in their marriage, it's never one big thing. It's always a bunch of little things. It's always a bunch of little foxes. So be on guard against those little foxes because those little foxes add up. The second thing that the lover of your soul needs, the one sitting beside you, is they want them to be a focused priority for you. A focused priority. Be intentional. Where are your eyes? Are they here? Are they somewhere else? Are they on your job? Are they on your kids? Are they on your hobbies? Or are they on your spouse? In this story, in the Song of Songs, they focus in and complement each other's eyes a lot. They both talk about how they represent doves, which I thought was interesting because, doves obviously is mentioned a lot in the Bible. But it's also an animal that mates for life, which I thought was very interesting. To me, that says commitment. Do you have committed eyes to your spouse?
We're going to read through some of these scriptures. I'll play the man's role. She's going to play the woman's role. 1:15, he says, "Oh, my dear friend, you're so beautiful, and your eyes are so beautiful, like doves."
The woman, he took me home with him for a festive meal, but his eyes feasted on me. Oh, me again. Look, listen, I'm sorry, I couldn't take my eyes off of you.
She got caught up in my eyes.
Look, listen, there's my lover. Do you see him coming, vaulting the mountains? Okay. Leaping the hills. All ears, all eyes ready. My lover has arrived and he's speaking to me.
2:14, the man, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is soothing and your face is ravishing.
The woman, his eyes are like doves, soft and bright, but deep set, brimming with meaning like wells of water.
The man, dance, dance, dear Shunammite, angel princess, and we'll feast our eyes on your grace. Everyone wants to see the Shunammite dance. There we go. Okay, cool.
I'm not a dancer.
Dance her victory dance of love and peace.
I am not a dancer. Real quick, funny story about our son. We were at this new coffee shop, and we have been trying to get our middle daughter a summer job. And every time we go someplace, we're like, "Are you hiring? Are you hiring? Are you hiring?" And so we were talking to the owner of this coffee shop, and we were like, "Yeah, and you know, she's a great worker. And you know, if you have like an open mic night, she's a singer and da da da." And Colton starts doing this, and I'm like, "What, buddy?" And he was like, "You gonna tell him I'm a dancer?" I was like,
you're not
"Sure,
a
buddy.
dancer.
I'm gonna tell him you're a dancer."
Oh my gosh. Next thing, be captivated and consumed with your spouse. Remember when you first started dating? You couldn't get enough of each other. Stay on the phone all night, write love letters, write some poems, write music. Be captivated, be consumed by your spouse. He is captivated by her eyes, which is so powerful in communicating a person's thoughts. This man, he fastens on this particular feature of her face rather than on any other key element of her beauty. Gazing deeply into someone's eyes is surely one of the most personal experiences possible. You know, when I was in college, I did not have a girlfriend, and I was about to graduate, and I wanted a wife, right? And a buddy of mine says, "Why don't you pray and ask God to show you who your wife is?" So I prayed to my wedding day. Guys don't have dreams of their wedding day, but I dreamed of my wedding day, and I was nervous. And all the time, I would dream a little bit. I would wake up, my heart was racing, cold sweats. I'd drink of water, lay back down. It's like God had hit paused and then hit play on the dream. A little bit longer in my wedding day, same thing. Woke up, heart's racing, sweating, get a drink of water, lay back down. God hit play, and it picked up right at my next line. The next phase, I'm at the altar, and this beautiful woman is standing in front of me. And it was her, and we hadn't even met yet. I lifted up her veil, and I was absolutely captivated by her eyes. I still remember. And when I woke up, I was at complete peace. When you are captivated by her eyes, because her eyes are a window into her soul, it's easy to be consumed by your lover.
Good, babe. Song of Songs 4:9, which is our theme verse for the year. You captured my heart, dear friend. You looked at me and I fell in love. One look my way and I was hopelessly in love. I love that scripture. I love that scripture so much because it not only should be a definition of your marriage, but it's, you know, a lot of people will tell you that Song of Songs is also a reflection of Jesus Christ and the church. And so do you know that you've captivated God's heart? When you look at him, he's hopelessly in love with you too. I just want to put that out there. The third thing that the lover of your soul needs from you is kind and gracious words. If you read through this, they are continually lifting each other up with kind words towards one another. Be gracious with your words and your actions. You want to read that scripture?
Yeah. Song of Songs 4:10 and 11 says, "The man, how delightful your caresses are, my sister, my bride. Your caresses are much better than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume than any balsam. Your lips drip with sweetness like honeycomb, my bride."
The woman says in 5:16, his mouth is sweetness. He is absolutely desirable. This is my lover. This is my friend.
Did you read that one?
Oh,
Great.
yeah. In this scripture, I love this scripture. We use this a lot when we're talking to couples. Proverbs 16:24 says, gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. The gracious word you speak to your spouse will literally heal them. That's what this scripture says.
Do you realize that your words are a sweet aroma to your spouse, and it can portray a sweet aroma in your home? How you speak to each other, there'll be a sweet aroma in your home. In Song of Songs 5:1, the man says, I went to my garden, my dear friend, best lover. I breathed the sweet fragrance, and I ate the fruit of honey, and I drank the nectar of wine.
The woman says, the fragrance of your perfume is intoxicating. Your name is perfume poured out. Whew. Next time I say, Clayton, I'm going to remember that you're changed my tone.
Here's what's interesting. Just by her saying that, growing up, I used to have people call me Clay, and I hated it because it wasn't my name. But you know who calls me Clay now? My wife. And when she says it, it's a sweet aroma. It's alluring to me because I know it means more than anything else. But just that she says, hey, Clay, I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Fragrance and beautiful smells are mentioned throughout the entire Bible. You know, think of a smell that you love. Like, can you picture it in your head, like a smell that you're just like, oh. I think about Christmas, that cinnamon smell throughout your house. Like, when I think of that, it just makes me happy. It makes me so happy. You know, is the aroma you're putting off in your home creating happiness and joy in your family? What kind of smell is in your home? Last night when we were trying to prepare for our finishing up our lesson, Clay was like, I'm going to grill some chicken. Let's do this, that. And I'm like, okay, are you sure about that? We have a lot to do. And he was like, yeah. Let me go marinate the chicken. So he starts pouring oil and vinegar in a bag, and the bag had a hole. And it went all over the floor. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So and I was like, oh, let me help you. He goes, no, finish up our notes. And I'm like, okay. So he cleans it up. And then a little bit later, our son, I think we told you this last week, our son loves the Houston Astros, So we had the game going, and I'm working on the notes. And then we were grilling chicken, but we were making like an Asian dish. Clayton was opening up a bottle of soy sauce. When he opened up the soy sauce, it literally sprayed all over our kitchen, on every nook and cranny,
We
walls,
have white cabinets.
the floors, white cabinets.
Beautiful.
I'm like running over, and I'm like, oh my goodness, if I go clean that on the wall, I'm going to step in it, so I've got to clean the floor first. All of a sudden, Colton's like, hey, who are your three favorite pitchers on the Astros? And I'm like, buddy, we are busy right now. I'm like, no, I need you to know. I'm going to tell you I don't even know who he said. Well, he'll tell you if you ask him. And I'm like, buddy, do you see? Do you see
the splatter paint on the cabinets right now? We're trying to take care of this.
And so I'm trying to, so I don't have to repaint. I'm trying to get it off the walls before it stains. He was like, no, really, here am I need to know. And I'm like, do you see the mess in the kitchen? And all of a sudden, I had two choices to make. Am I going to create a sweet aroma in the house, or am I going to create a bad one? I could have lost my mind at that point because it was a very frustrating situation, and I just began to laugh. I just began to laugh, and then Clayton began to laugh, and Colton, he was still asking, who are our three favorite pitchers on the Houston Astros? He still didn't catch on to what was happening, and that made us laugh even more, and I was just like, who cares that there's soy sauce everywhere? We're going to get it cleaned up, and if we have to repaint, we have to repaint. What matters is the aroma we're putting off in our house, right? By our kind words and our actions.
Hey, guys, if you need to go to second service, head out. We're going to wrap this up real quick. Last thing, praise your spouse. I'll speak to the men. You'll be surprised how much shade you can provide when you speak kind and encouraging words over your spouse, but praise her constantly. Talk about how beautiful she is. Talk about what an amazing mother she is. Talk about what an amazing wife she is. Constantly be her biggest cheerleader. Don't let anybody cheer for your wife louder than you. Listen, you will never hear out of my words a negative thing in public or in private towards my spouse. Never. I love her too much and I'm too grateful for her. You'll never hear those words out of my mouth. So constantly lavish praises on your spouse.
And that goes both ways. Be your husband's biggest cheerleader. His number one need is honor and respect. And to me, that says believe in your spouse. Show him that you believe in him. Show him that you think he's the best husband and father and provider for your family. I wrote this scripture down. I don't think we have it for the wall, but it says Proverbs 18:21 through 22. This is the message versions. Words kill, words give life. They're either poison or fruit. You choose. Find a good spouse, you found a good life, and even more, the favor of God. Yeah. And this scripture, I read this, or I have this scripture memorized. It's Proverbs 31. You know, at the end of that, it talks about the noble wife. And there's a scripture, the very last scripture, you know, it's one of those that I've had memorized forever. Charmed is deceptive, but beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord should be praised. And I love that scripture, but I read it recently for the first time ever in the Message version. And I loved it. It said, charm can mislead and beauty soon fades, but the woman to be admired and praised is the woman who lives in the fear of God. Give her everything she deserves. Festoon her life with praises. Isn't that beautiful? And I just want to point out, fearing God just means that you trust him, you're in awe of him, you depend on him. It doesn't mean you're scared of him. So this is how we both should live our lives, right? But what I loved was that word festoon. I was like, what is that word? I'm not really quite sure what festoon means. I knew it was some kind of celebratory word, but I looked up the meaning. Festoon, as a noun, is a chain or garland of flowers, leaves, or ribbons hung in a curve as a decoration. As a verb, it's adorn this place with ribbons, garlands, or other decorations. Festoon, and I thought we got prettier ones, but they'll do, okay? Festoon your spouse with praises. Celebrate them. Celebrate them for who they are. Celebrate them for where you want them to be. Uplift them, praise them, adore them, protect them. Only have eyes for them and speak kindness over them.
So we have a challenge for all of you. To this week, are you ready? Smile and say, I'm ready. And here's the last thing. Draw a line in the sand and don't take any condemnation because we all get better, right? You get better with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And that's what we're doing. We're all getting better with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So today we're drawing a line in the sand. We're stepping over that line to move forward in a healthy and vibrant and strong and passionate, everybody say passionate. Passionate marriage. But here's our challenge. This week, we want you to write down 3 practical things that you need from your spouse to help you increase protection, focus, and in kind words. Practical things. 3 practical things that you as a spouse are going to share with your spouse that they can do for you in these 3 areas of protection, focus, and kind words. Don't make me double dog dare you, but you need to write it down, all right? 3 things that you're going to share. And then what we would like for you to do is before next week, go on a date. You can go on you can wait till the kids go to bed and pop some popcorn and sit on your bed and talk about these things. Take each other out for coffee or go out to dinner. But share your notes with your spouse. You're giving them a playbook on how to get into the garden. Here are some practical things that I need from you to help bring about protection, focus, and kind words. All right? And that's our challenge for you this week.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you this, the more you do these things, the intimacy in your marriage will be stronger. It'll be more lovely. Okay, we're talking about sex. I'm just going to put this out here. We got 30 seconds. Okay. Your sex will be better.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you something, it's more than physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's mental. So if you work on the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental, the physical will go from here to here.
Whole nother level.
It's a whole nother level.
We love telling people that haven't been married for very long, it gets better with age. But really, it gets better with vulnerability and with intimacy and building your garden, right? God doesn't disappoint.